It's worth noting that it's only very recently that the idea of being punctual was a morally proper thing to do. And it's not something that necessarily emerged naturally. We developed these timepieces that allowed people to coordinate time and allowed us to measure whether somebody was early or late. But that was no justification about then using those mechanisms just because they were available. The word punctuality, when it first appeared in the English language, referred to a stickler for details. And it's only taken on its current meaning over the last several hundred years. If we walk through Europe, we see these great public clocks. So people could measure the time, so people could tie into the time. But there were also centerpieces. That's how important they were to people. And then we have smaller clocks that are developed, so the equivalent of the middle class can bring the time into their homes. And then it's only in France, I believe, where the first wristwatches were created. And if we look at what people thought of those watches at the time, they look like very quirky invention. And one can imagine people, passing your friend and you see that they have the time on their wrist. They're wearing the time on their body, and that must have seemed like a very funny notion at first. Notably, this development of these precise timepieces were coming about just after the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. So the availability of time to a wide range of people was coming along at, excuse the pun, but just the right time for businesses. And what we find is that there are people who are promoting, they were marketing the value of living by clock time, of being punctual and making every moment count. And what we see are ads that are promoting not only keeping time, but keeping track of workers' times.